Hi, everyone. Jill from the Northwoods. How are you doing? I hope that you've been having a great week. This week is getting a little bit warmer. I have spring fever, so my friend and I got a chance to go out and do a little bit of walking around. I bought some camping gear and some hiking gear, and I am ready for this new year. Again, part of the issue is this will be my first year I haven't been, uh, 100 pounds overweight. And I don't know, probably a whole long time. And I'm excited to get out and going. I have helped my exercise program get along a little bit better. Started doing my cardio like I wanted to. So the plan is on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's resistance training. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, it is cardio. And that has been going a little bit better than it had been. I think that overall, I'm still fighting the same 2 pounds over and over again, and that's just continued this week. This week, I lost the same 2 pounds again. So, like I said, I think it's taking some time to get used to what's going on in my body, and that's completely fine. One of the things I did have is my follow up with my eye doctor, the retina specialist fellow. And the good news is I thought I had like 14 different tests involved in this retina specialist fellow. This is going to cost an arm and a leg. And it ended up not being terrible, believe it or not. Even the amount my insurance paid was not as expensive as I thought it was. But the bottom line is the damage in my eye is still there. And it got a little bit better. And I talked to a resident who was the first fellow to see me. And he said, there's some landmark study. I'm going to try to find out what that study is that is exploring this. But he said, you know what? This happened to people on insulin too. Anytime you treat diabetes, if you get a really good response from the treatment of diabetes, it tended to make people's diabetic issues temporarily worse. And they know it. They've known it for a long time. This is not something GLP related. This is something that a fast reaction to diabetes treatment causes this to happen. And 3 days after I started taking Mounjaro, I was no longer diabetic. That is pretty darn fast. And I responded well to the drug in losing weight. He said that in the past with diabetes, they believed that it was more important to treat the diabetes and have the person go down the right path than to get them off of this drug. Again, I'm not a doctor. If you're having any eye issues at all, you notice any eye issues. So I started thinking about this. I went and asked ChatGPT in November. I was having some blurry vision in my right eye. And it could be this, could be that. You should go see an eye doctor. That's when I made the appointment to go see an eye doctor, and I did. But I noticed that there was something going on. If you notice something that's going on or something just doesn't quite see right, go see your eye doctor and see. But again, they believe that treating the diabetes is more important and that he still says you're on the right path. Don't freak out. It is getting a little bit better, but it's not cured yet. I still see it there. And again, this was optic nerve swelling and a little bit of fluid in my eye. And it's just kind of a weird thing. So we'll see. I was hoping that it would get better, but it also makes sense that it was just 2 months ago that, and 3 months ago that I first noticed something was weird. And then 2 months ago when I saw the eye doctor. So it's still very early, and he postponed our next follow-up for May. So that I'll go ahead and talk to him again in May. This landmark study, like I said, it is so hard because when you get sick with something, that's what all the GLP complaints are about, right? Oh, well, GLP causes saggy faces. Well, no, losing weight causes saggy faces. Well, GLP-1s cause eye damage. Well, you're getting eye damage because you're diabetic. You have to sort of tease things out. That's what makes, like I said, I work in clinical trials research in software, and that's what makes some things really hard to tease out, exactly what it is that's causing the adverse event to happen. Is it the disease, or is it the drug, or is it a combination of both, or a side effect? That's the thing that they're always looking at. All right, so everything's just going really, still pretty well. I think that my skin is starting to retract back in. I noticed when I was at the gym last week that the saggy skin didn't look quite as saggy as it had been in the past. So I do believe it's coming back in. I've been using the Aveeno body shower. It's basically oil. You're spritzing yourself with some kind of an oil that is good for your skin, and that's been helping. I think more than anything that I've seen. So that the skin's coming back in line too. That I hope your journey is going well, whatever it is. I know that, we're all trying to just do the right thing and get healthy and make our lives, go on with our lives and start living them. What I was going to talk about, and again, if you have comments or questions, I'm always happy to answer them as well. So if you had a question about, something that you're struggling with or something that you heard me say before, please let me know. I wanted to talk a little bit today about proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, because we get kind of caught up, and I do too, that, you see this diet, oh, it's high protein, or it's low carbs, or it's high fats, or it's all meat, and you kind of get caught up in what it is I'm supposed to eat. How am I supposed to do? And in the end, food is food, and they all have a role to play in our lives. We are kind of this physical system that runs on the materials we give it, which is going to be like air, water, food, and, it produces certain reactions to it. Some of it's hormone-based, some of it's muscle-based, some of it's just the processes inside of the body, and they all play a different role. So even with protein, fats, and carbohydrates, they each play a different role. They're not interchangeable. Some people think that you can just eat 1,400 calories of broccoli and, it'll be fine, probably interesting, but or I can eat all my calories and have it all be protein, and that's the way I should go too. They each do something a little bit different in our bodies, and that's what makes it very complicated, and we're learning more and more. I noticed that when my doctor now, this time versus the last time, talked about my GLP-1, he had a little bit more information. This information is coming so rapidly now because we are learning so much more, I think because of the GLP-1s. And the other part of it, too, that is not so intuitive is that timing and the balance of what we eat also matters. So it's not like you eat all protein in the morning and then all carbs at the night. Our bodies are sort of expecting a flow, a gentle flow of nutrition coming into us during the times. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they call macronutrients. Those are going to be the fiber, the protein, and those things, not micronutrients like vitamin D and the smaller things that are in there. But when we understand, it used to be, and you probably, if you grew up like I did, heard a calorie is just a calorie. And first of all, what is a calorie? A calorie is that if you were to go into a lab, it would be, the burning of that amount of energy, how much energy this little piece of food or whatever it is you're burning, how much energy or, carbon it releases. It's really sort of a lousy way of measuring food. And the idea that only calories matter, or all you have to do is track your calories and it'll just be fine, it doesn't really show you how much energy or how much your body needs to get into your system. How will this energy be used? Will it release quickly or slowly? Will the hormones respond to it in a good way or in a bad way in your body? And then what signals you get from your system. I think this is going to be our next avenue of discovery when it comes to learning more and more about it. But, we're talking about stuff we know and that stuff that is more historic. I'm not doing any cutting edge news here. So they each do a little bit of, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates do a little bit of different messaging when you eat them in your body. And at times, it tries to align with what your body needs, what your body is feeling at that time. And they can, if you eat too much of one thing or another, increase either fatigue or cravings. It can increase your stress hormones, or it can make you feel satisfied. So let's take a look at each of these individually. First of all, protein is often thought of as the muscle food. We are eating protein while being on GLP-1s because we're trying to maintain our muscles. And that's one of the big successes I had on this. Not only in the course of taking GLP-1s did I keep my muscles, I increased them 12 pounds over the course of the 18 months. Now, that's partially because if you're out of shape, you're going to build muscle when you really start dedicatedly doing resistance training and muscle training. But you can be on this drug and retain your muscles. You just have to do the right things. So it's that protein is thought that, first of all, it provides amino acids. Amino acids, if you've ever learned, are the building blocks of life, right? Well, it's also what builds up our muscle tissue, our organs, enzymes, neurotransmitters, hormones, and immune system. And without enough protein in our body, the body starts to borrow from itself. And what does that exactly mean? That means it's going to start taking protein from muscles, and so we gain muscle loss. It's going to reduce our metabolism flexibility, because it probably, the body thinks we're in some kind of a famine, and so I'm going to have to hold on to what I have. It means that we'll have a weaker immune system. We will heal more slowly, and a lot of times that's where the hair thinning and the brittle nails come from. I think we've seen enough videos, if you've been like me and watching GLP video, of people who said they've lost hair. There was a period that came in at about 4 months after I started taking GLP-1, where my hair started coming out. I'd go in the shower and it would like come out in clumps. I was getting enough protein, but I think my body was kind of in shock about what was going on. But if it continues, that's a good sign that you're not getting enough protein, and your nails not growing properly either. So it's really important with aging too. With muscle tone, we don't want to lose muscle because we're eating our own muscles. As we get older, muscle gets harder and harder to build, and we will just naturally lose muscle as we age. I think they said after this age is sort of in dispute, but most people said around after the age of 29, you will naturally lose muscle unless you intercede on it. That means resistance training, eating protein, getting enough sleep, all the things that you're supposed to do. But we don't want to lose muscle because we're eating our body's muscle away. And I think if you remember my DEXA scan issue, that I had gained 12 pounds of muscle during this whole point. And in that very last 6 months, I actually had lost 0.8 pounds of muscle. And I think it was because I got on that high dose of Mounjaro, which was 10.0, and it walloped me. I felt terrible. I wasn't moving. I was exhausted all the time. And that is when I started losing muscle. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And you say, well, Jill, you were eating the same amount of protein as you were before. And I was. But we'll kind of tie those together. So your body doesn't store amino acids as in the same way it stores fat. It's a little bit different. Protein is more useful when it's spread out throughout the entire day, that there are no long gaps without protein, and that if you have, let's just say, so when I was having diabetes problem, I used to eat very low protein breakfast. Let's say a bowl of Quaker Oats oatmeal, or some toast, or maybe a sugary cinnamon roll. I didn't really eat sugar, but you can see our breakfasts got very carby over the years. And what will happen is it will cause, when you do that kind of thing, our sugars to spike up and down. Then we go, we eat and we get this kick of sugars and carbs early in the morning, and then we're on this roller coaster of blood sugar all day long. That's the the diabetes side of thing, or not even diabetes. That's everything. I had a friend of mine who had hypoglycemia, which means she got low blood sugar, and she found out it was her orange juice for breakfast that was causing it. That she would get this hit of sugar, and it was just causing her to go on the roller coaster, and she cut that out. Actually, she didn't cut it out. She just made it later in the day for lunch, and suddenly it happened. So for me, when I started getting diabetes, I started eating a very high protein meal during the day, and that meant chicken. And that is just the weirdest thing to eat for breakfast, but that hit of protein stabilized my blood sugar. It helped me basically cool down through the rest of the day. Instead of having this roller coaster, then suddenly I was more sugar stable. It didn't look like a roller coaster. It looked like a line all through the day. The other thing too is that it can help you feel full. And so when I ate, I searched everywhere. If I ate eggs, if I ate chicken, if I ate this, if I ate that, what would actually make me stay full? And eating this chicken for the breakfast and the first thing in the meal actually allowed me to be stable throughout the entire day. Like, I didn't have big hunger hunger feelings throughout the day. I was pretty good all day long, and the meal held. I remember during the pandemic, I was getting groceries delivered, and the guy called me the keto cat lady because I was just ordering chicken, Diet Coke, and cat litter all the time. And so it's something I started a few years ago to reduce my blood sugar, and that was one of the big successes I had. But now, as I said last week, now I'm having a little bit of carbs in the morning, and that's helping me stabilize my sugar levels, because now I'm having low blood sugar. The chicken was protein processes very slowly. It goes into your system. So imagine Jill gets up, 7 o'clock. She eats chicken, and then I go to the gym and I work out. The body is still chugging away at that chicken and not producing the energy I needed. So a little bit of carbs in the morning has been helping me out. And that makes me feel better, and I'm working out in the gym a little bit better. If you get too much protein, some things that can happen is that it still provides you energy. Like I said, it digests slowly, and it also will displace other types of food. So you see people who are very high protein diets, and they do it intentionally. And I'm not fighting against keto, because a lot of people have had success on keto, both in weight loss, and also blood sugar reduction, diabetes treatment. But that means you're not going to start taking in as much carbs and fat, because protein stays in you a long time and helps you stay full a long time. And if you don't get enough carbs and fats, other things can go wrong. We'll talk about them when we get to their section. But it's important to know, too, that protein will not build muscle. You have to do the work, which means the exercise, the resistance training, whatever it is that you're doing, moving around. That's what builds muscle. It's the little tears that you get in your muscles, and then your body says, "Oh no, there's a tear in your arm muscle," and then it goes to build it back and repair itself back up, and that's when you get bigger muscles. That's when you grow muscles. So protein all by itself is not going to give you muscles. It's going to give you the foundation so that you can repair the muscles and build them up. But if you don't have enough protein while you're exercising and doing all the right things, then you can lose muscle at that point, because like I said, the body is going to start breaking down your own muscle. So for me, what I changed, like I said, when I was trying to drop my blood sugar, is I had a high protein meal during the breakfast time. Now that I'm trying to increase my blood sugar a little bit in the mornings, I'm trying to eat a little bit of carbs. But what happens and how this process looks is that if you have a lot of sugar stored in your liver, and you have a big available amount of liver, and you're hungry in the morning, the liver will just start dumping out all this stored sugar if you don't eat, which is why people get high blood sugar in the morning, because the body says, "Oh, Jill's starving to death." It produces cortisol, which is a stress hormone, so that it can help you energize when you're waking up. Dumps all that energy into your system, the liver glycogen, and now you're spiking, right? Now I'm no longer spiking, and so now I need the fuel available to me so that I can have a sensible, because I probably don't have the liver glycogen I used to have, because I dropped the 80 pounds. So now breakfast is me eating protein in breakfast, a little bit of carbs second. So I don't eat it the first thing, I eat it as the second thing. And that will provide my body enough to chew on to get me energized, so I can go off to the gym and do the things that I want to do. So again, protein will trigger insulin. That's a natural process in the body, especially if you're looking at eggs and lean meat, which chicken is. But without the carbohydrates, there might not be enough circulating glucose to match the amount of insulin that just flooded into your body, and you can get shaky and lightheaded and get suddenly very hungry. So that's the idea with it. Protein converts into glucose, but like I said, it's very slow. It's more demand driven, like the body wants to have it, and it doesn't always meet the needs that you have for exercise or your brain. Your brain needs more energy, especially mine. When I wake up in the morning, I have no brain at all, and so I need more energy. So again, that's the reason why people kind of the timing of it matters. That you not only, depending on your goals, are you trying to lower your blood sugar? Are you trying to increase your blood sugar in the morning? We're more insulin sensitive in the morning. We're more cortisol reactive in the morning. When we wake up, the first thing the body does is shove a bunch of cortisol out to wake us up. And so that's why if you start off in a bad day, it kind of goes all wacky at that point. All right, so we talked a little bit about that. So then the question goes in about what is it that has protein in it? What are some good things? And so you think about eggs, meat, fruit, Greek yogurt. There's a lot of different things. Beans have protein in them. So there's a lot of different things that have protein and are particularly good sources of it. And then they talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it today, about high quality sources of protein and low quality sources of protein. Chicken, meat, dairy, high quality. Peanut butter is a good source of protein, but not high quality protein. So it doesn't have a lot of the amino acids and the different things in it that will help you be healthier. So like I said, we're not going to talk about that as the biggest piece of it. Next part is carbohydrates. Our brain prefers to eat carbohydrates because it's the nervous system relies on it, and our muscles perform best when it's available to us. So that's why I was going to the gym eating protein, and I was just going trying to lift all the weights, and I just had no oomph in me. And that's exactly what was happening in my system. I could feel that way. And when I don't eat enough carbs, I tried, like I said, keto a couple times. I've tried, different types of high protein diets. I don't feel well. I feel drained. I feel tired. I just am exhausted a lot of the time. That is what happens when you don't get enough carbs in your body. My friend was talking to me about it. She goes, I don't have that problem. And I said, I absolutely do. So if we're going out on a big hike, I have some carbs so that I can, power up on my hike that I'm about to have. Or like I said, go to the gym. So the body adapts to lower carbs eventually, but the adaptation still is not exactly what preference is, right? It can adapt to it, but it still prefers for the brain and for energy to have carbohydrates. It supports the nervous system, physical activity, serotonin, and sleep. So people who eat too low of carbs can have sleep disruptions. And when you have carbs at the right time and the right amount, it can actually reduce the amount of cortisol we have floating around in our body. And again, cortisol is a stress hormone. When I mentioned a while ago that I saw a very, very fit spinning instructor, fit as a fiddle. I mean, you could tell that guy was muscly and he had a gut on him. What causes that? Cortisol. Cortisol creates gut fat because it says, oh no, you're really stressed out about something. Is it that a bear is going to chase you? I better put a little available energy in your gut in case you have to go run and be chased by a bear. It also provides fiber for us, which helps us slow digestion. It helps feed gut bacteria and the good kind of gut bacteria that we have. And so we do need carbs. It is a part of our diet. So basically, that combination of protein and fiber and some carbs will help our sugar response. It'll keep our energy levels up. It'll keep our moods in a good place. And like I said, help reduce that stress hormone that's going on. But what a lot of people tend to do is they tend to eat carbs at, let's say 9 o'clock, we're watching a movie. I'm going to eat a bag of chips. I'm going to have some carbs. And instead, because it is late, it tends to get stored instead of used because you're at the downslope of your day. You're probably not exercising or going out on a hike or being chased by a bear at nighttime. So what happens to all those carbs? Gets shoved into fat. And so timing of it matters a great deal. So that's kind of, I think, important to know. So we talked about what happens if you don't have enough carbs. Your brain can get foggy. You can feel lack of energy. But if you have too many carbs, that's where we start seeing the blood sugar spikes, the increase of fat in us. We can start seeing insulin getting out of whack, which is if you were diabetic, that's what we all had. And it can lead to appetite dysregulation, which is a very big word, but essentially means that you start feeling hungry when you're not hungry. You got plenty of sugar in you. You're good to go. You eat too many carbs or the wrong kind of carbs, and you could start feeling hungry too quickly afterwards. So it's not should we have carbs, it's just how much and at what times. The last part of this is fats, and fats are essential to us. And, we get back in the 90s, we got into you have to have a low-fat diet. If you have a low-fat diet, you'll cure your diabetes, you'll lose a lot of weight, because if you eat fat, you get fat. And this was a huge misunderstanding of how the body actually works, and people made a fortune off of selling us Snackwell cookies that were low-fat. I like I said, I even remember candy, like just pure sugar candy saying 100% fat free. Well, of course, it's 100% sugar. That's why it's 100% fat free. But fat is important for forming cell membranes, hormone production, vitamin absorption, and long lasting energy. Carbs will give us that quick burst of energy, but when we have fats in our system, that's when we can go on the 11-mile hike instead of the 3-mile hike. And if we have too low of fats in our bodies, our hormones get messed up. We are chronically hungry all the time. We get poor absorption of vitamin A, D, E, and K. All of those are really important. A is for our eyes. D is a hormone. If you didn't know that, vitamin D is a hormone, and it has clinical trials on it that is in the prevention of cancer to lots of things. And when I had my vitamin D levels tested this last year, my doctor said, well, basically, you don't have any because I'm a pasty person in the North Woods who gets no sun. And so, he put me on vitamin D supplements. And then E, which is very good for us, and K. You'll see also if you don't get enough fats, which I think was more my problem, skin and hair changes. So getting enough of those types of things will help us as a body be better. Fats also slowly digest. That's why it's good that you pair that with a protein. You'll notice that most proteins are naturally paired with fats, and we get a little fats with almost every protein we eat. And even when we pair fats with refined carbs, then suddenly it can make us feel a little bit more full too. So you always, just as a general principle, eat carbs second. Whether you eat protein first or you eat fats first. But even if I was a big noodle fan, right? Let's say I just said, oh, Jill wants to have a bowl of noodles or a bowl of popcorn. If it has good fats in it, like butter, it actually helps you digest it not so quickly and not spike your sugar so quickly. So pairing it with something is better. In meals, like I said, you don't want to eat a meal of fat, although I've tried, I think. And you want to have it with protein, with fiber, and that will help you support being full, helping your sugar stay constant more across the day. And the problem with fats is and the reason why everyone tried to get away from fats for so long is that fats are calorie dense. They have twice the amount of calories in them per ounce than protein and carbs have. And so you can get a huge amount of calories very quickly. That's why when I was talking about my food analysis, oh, you're having way too many fats. Look at how many nuts you ate. I like eating nuts. I think nuts are healthy for us. But essentially, you can very quickly overshoot what your energy needs are by eating nuts because they are so calorie dense. That means it could also help us gain weight if we don't do that. And it's... an excess is stored very easily. Fats go into fats because if you have too much. So it's not that it's harmful. It's more that it matters when you eat it, how much you eat of it, and how much of it is a part of your diet. So I actually bought these, these little ceramic cups I found on Amazon. And they are, so I had these 6-ounce bowls, and I was putting some nuts in these 6-ounce bowls. And I was getting too many of them because when I went and weighed them, I was like, oh, that's a lot. I could see that was a lot. So I just got these little 2-ounce bowls and fill it up only halfway. And then I can just bring that back to my desk when I'm working and have some nuts as a snack. So just by decreasing the size of the bowl, I've brought my nut eating back into a proper perspective. But like I said, when working together and you get the right combination, you get slow digestion, stabilized blood sugar, good energy throughout the day, your brain's not foggy, you sleep well at night, and that's going to lead to everything just going well in your life. So if you can combine these in the right order, it will help you succeed in, keeping this weight off and losing more weight if you're trying to lose more weight, and then basically not depending on willpower to try to lose weight, instead letting your diet work for you. And I think that's really what we're all trying to get, because we're just trying to win this battle every way we can. And so in the end, when we look at overeating, it's really about true hunger. I mean, I think all of us have now realized that when we're on GLP-1s, like I said, we'd eat a meal, and I realized with GLP-1s, at what point I actually really get full. At what point did I eat I went for brisket yesterday with my friend, and I learned how much I can eat of that brisket, and it's fine. I'm satisfied. The food held all day. I think the GLP-1 is teaching us a lesson in that. So we feel like we want to eat more for lots of different reasons. Some of them are hormonal, some are emotional. But when we start really getting back into our sense, our natural sense, we want energy dense food. We want, or we eat energy dense food. We eat poor protein. We get stressed out. We have sleep disruption. And then we're eating them all in the wrong order. When we can limit ourselves to the right times, and the nice thing, honestly, is protein is very easy to self limit. You can only eat so much chicken and so much steak before you are full. So it almost limits itself a little bit, although I could put down a steak pretty well. But carbs, again, are hard, and we have to focus on them. That's my goal, is I am focusing on how much carbs I get right now. And I keep it, for me, at somewhere around 100 grams of carbs a day. And I tend to feel good at that point, and I tend to don't overshoot it a bit. And then fat, like I said, super easy to overshoot. But essentially, when we build these things together, we start, piecing together a life that we can sustain. So again, if you have any questions or comments or about, anything that you're doing to try to balance these out, I think that we've gotten so caught up in so many past diets that tell us fats are bad or protein is bad or carbs are bad, and they're not. They're all just part of this, working together to make us healthy in the end. While I'm waiting for this, you could always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. I was having an email problem for 3 weeks and I didn't know it. My host was not giving me my emails. And then when I replied to emails, it wasn't sending them out. So that is fixed today. I spent a little bit of time this morning. So you can email me if you want. You can put a comment right here and say hi. Again, I'm in maintenance mode, and we're going to see how this goes. I'm supposed to talk to my doctor in a couple of weeks. I didn't yet make an appointment, but I will. And my goal is that I'm going to move down in dose again, and I'm going to go to 7.5. Primarily for the reason that I think I'm doing really well. I'm not having a lot of cravings at this point. I'm not really putting on weight other than that 2 pounds I keep fighting back and forth. But I still feel my energy is not quite the way it should be. You should see Jill when she's energized. She talks twice as fast than Jill right now. But I want to go into this spring biking and hiking. I just bought new hiking shoes, energized, ready to, take things on. I'm thinking about bringing my running program back on. I started trail running the last time I lost weight, and I loved it. Who knew I would love running at all? But that's really my goal in this. So I'm really working on it. So my goal is in February, sort of at the end, to reduce down to 7.5 and see how that goes. Like I said, we're going to just keep pushing this and seeing where it lands. I know it's not a popular decision to leave GLP-1s, but that's still my goal in all of this. All right, well, I don't see any comments. You're always welcome to give me any comments that you have, and then I would love to hear from you and see how your journey is going. Have a great week, and keep at it. We got this.